Good day, and thank you for joining the Boston Online High School channel as we discuss the benefits of incorporating tech in a child's schooling and how it will better prepare them for the workplace in the fourth industrial revolution. Adequate knowledge in advanced technology, computer literacy, and savviness are a major plus in the fourth industrial revolution. According to various studies, since 2001, the use of digital tools in the workforce has increased to 90% out of 545 vocations, with lower skilled occupations contributing drastically to this increase. Our guest speaker for today, David Chiger, an expert in pedagogies and teaching methodologies with many years of experience in the tech industry. He believes that it is vital for learners to have up-to-date and adequate technology skills for future job success in an ever-changing tech-savvy world. And we'd like to hear more. Thank you so much, David, for joining us today.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Great. I have a question for you. I have a few for you, actually. I'd like to hear a little bit more about your experience and your knowledge in the educational industry and how digital technology benefits both students and teachers.
Great. Okay, so firstly, I enjoy questions. So that's the only way that you really can learn something, is when you question something. So let me give you a little bit of background that recently, a few months ago, I did a Cambridge course, a PDQ, Professional Development Qualification. And in that, I specialized in digital technology. And Cambridge uses specifically this qualification to train teachers who will then go and train teachers, other teachers, how to use digital technology to enhance their ability to teach, and also to ensure that students are acquiring the skills that they need in order to get into the fourth industrial revolution. So this specialization I did specifically in digital technology, and the idea was to train teachers to use that digital technology in the class. And
Awesome.
Does that answer the question?
Definitely does answer the question. So tell me, how then can teachers and students use tech to their advantage?
Great. So the idea is to really bring the world into the classroom. Before, if you have a classical classroom, you just have a teacher who's trying to attract and entertain the class and really get their imaginations flowing and try to form an image in their minds of the thing that they're trying to learn. Now with digital technology, you can literally bring, like if I want to talk about engineering and I want to say this is how we build a bridge and these are the shapes that we need and these are I can really show pictures and I can use YouTube videos in order to demonstrate where a bridge fails on certain things like that. And I'm really bringing the world and the experience into the classroom. So it really enhances the teacher to give them the tools to enrich their teaching methodology. But more so, you're giving the skills to the students. So the students then learn the skills of expressing themselves digitally. So if they want to do in a English classroom and they want to express a certain mind map, they've got ideas and they're trying to build a debate on a certain subject, then they can use a PowerPoint presentation where they are showing their ideas in a clear and eloquent manner, which really gives them the skills then in the next step when they go into the business world. They can then really eloquently express their ideas and it comes across a lot more professional.
So you think that using tech in online schooling will better prepare them for the workforce, basically, and it gives them that little bit of tech knowledge to basically, let's say, for example, what about online live meetings, or what about putting a document together? Well, small things like that. Would you agree with me?
Absolutely. Really, it's become a requirement of human beings in general to be tech savvy and to know how to use tech. We've just seen through COVID that if you don't have a computer and an internet, how do you work? And businesses were scrambling to organize internet access at home for their employees and laptops if they didn't have, so that they could just simply communicate. And communication's the very basis of all things that happens in the workplace. But that's just communication. The next level is using all that technology for the things that they innovate and create, that make amazing businesses that we have today.
Definitely, yeah. I know that tech knowledge and savviness works perfectly for certain professions and occupations. Let's say for maybe doctors in medicine or engineering or even marketing. We know that tech is, you need a broad knowledge of tech and it's very much involved. So, but what about for skilled tradesmen such as plumbers, electricians, or even farmers? Like, how will tech benefit them? And is it even necessary to for them to have a certain degree of computer literacy and tech savviness for them to be successful in their profession or occupation?
Right, so that's a really, really great question. And it really hits to those students who are sitting there in the classroom and they're like, I'm not going to be a lawyer, a doctor, or a high-powered businessman. I'm going to do the basic stuff. So I want to be a plumber. I'm good with my hands. That's what I want to do, an electrician, something like that. So I don't really need technology if I'm going into those fields. And the thing is, a person who thinks like that is completely wrong. So I have a personal story. I like to help people. And one of those people are a gentleman by the name of Alison Shabalala. And his nickname is Mike, so we call him Mike. And he's a plumber. And he's been a plumber for many, many years. And the board that registers plumbers, they decided on the 1st of January in 2018, they said all plumbers have to be registered with this registration board, with a PIRB, and the Plumbing Registration Board, and they manage and they give the qualifications to all plumbers and the legal ability for a plumber to work in the plumbing space. And if you don't register with them, you're basically working as an illegal plumber. Now, the process of registering, so Mark came to me and he had this problem. He wanted to be a plumber and he needed to register, but he had never touched a computer, let alone connected to the internet before in his life.
Okay.
So he said, how do I do it? He's been to their offices. He can't register physically through their offices. It also was COVID time. But even before COVID, so they have the entire registration process is online. You go and create a profile, you register yourself, you put in your trade test and your results from your trade test, and then you have your assessment, which is all online. It's all tests that he does online. So he had to sit with my laptop and he had to do the actual online test, and I had to guide him through just using a mouse and a laptop in order so that he could just get his plumbing registration. And then he wanted to further himself and he wanted to say, right, I want to do a solar geyser installation course. So in order to do that, you have to go to IOPSA, which is the training organization that does all the accredited training. And they also, it's an online training where you have to go and enroll online, do a course on this is how you install a solar geyser, and these are the processes, and he learns it and he does the assessment. And when he's finished that course, he then goes and submits it all online to the PIRB. And then they register him and he gets a digital card. The beauty of this, you don't get a physical card where you go and pick up from their offices that you go and hand over to your clients and say, here, I'm a licensed plumber. You get a digital card that's emailed to you, and then you put that on. You can WhatsApp to all your clients. You say, here, I am a licensed plumber. And it's all digital. And now if he wants to go on social media, he has this digital card and he can say, I'm a licensed plumber. These are my prices. And the entire company runs completely digitally. So this person who maybe had never touched a computer or access to an internet in his life, and he had all the skills necessary to be a plumber, could not be a plumber, a legal plumber, if he didn't have the technology, the know-how to, and the access to internet and a laptop and usage of that. So it's you come in and you think, right, I'm just going to work with my hand, I'll be a carpenter and I'll just build things. But the way the fourth industrial revolution is dragging people kicking and screaming into this fourth industrial revolution, and whether you like it or not, you have to be tech savvy.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that, no matter what your vocation is.
That's so true. And I was actually reading up on some student testimonials and of some students who turned to online schooling, and a lot of them said in the beginning it was extremely difficult to do online schooling. just because they've never used various video sharing platforms. I won't mention any names, but so it was very difficult to get into, but eventually, and then they had to submit assignments online, upload assignments, learn how to use various Microsoft softwares or apps, should I say. So once they got past that barrier, then it was like second nature to them. And now they're going into university and they're quite equipped technology-wise. So, which is a great thing to see. So would you agree with me that this is one of the great benefits with online schooling? It familiarizes them with that tech, even if it's minimal tech, just to do the basic things that you need.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we talk about basic things that you need. And also maybe in our world, time is money. And efficiencies are really what we need in a business. Yeah. So a guy, instead of sitting in a bank for 5 hours and trying to talk to the teller, you can go on your banking online and do exactly what you need in 5 minutes and you're done. For example, a plumber who wants to issue a COC, instead of going into a shop and buying the COC pad and writing it out and handing it over and then submitting it physically through the post where it will probably get lost. But here you can go onto your website, sign in as the registered plumber you are, buy an electronic certificate of compliance, fill in with all your registration and everything that you have, and then send that digitally to your client who now has a digital copy of that. And it's all done in 5 minutes.
Exactly.
And no lines, no queues, no traveling, no pollution of driving somewhere. It's all going green, efficient, and really you can't do it without tech.
Yeah, so it's also more friendly to the environment.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. And thinking of what about, websites. So not only for tradesmen is it's giving them better reach, it's giving them a bigger target audience, target market, because now they can have their own websites and reach more people, whereas if they did not, or they did not know how to market or use social media, they wouldn't be as successful and they wouldn't have as much business. So their tech again comes in, it's very useful, yeah.
Absolutely. And even like, for example, there's a gentleman, Mr. Lame, he's Congolese, and he's famous on TikTok because what he does is he videos people it takes a TikTok video, and at the end of the TikTok video, when the person has shown a life hack, amazing thing that they can do, he goes and mocks it and shows the simplicity of another way of doing it. And there's a humor to it, but he has 14 million followers. He has 40 million followers, and obviously he has an income stream from that. And all he needs is a laptop and access to internet.
Exactly.
And he's got an income stream that he's comfortable with.
That's amazing. So there's opportunities for everyone in the world when it comes to tech.
If you have an education in technology and access to technology.
Exactly. Yes. I know in South Africa, if we're talking local now, an increasing number of occupations require employees to have a certain level of computer literacy, adequate knowledge, as we've been speaking. However, according to statistics, it's actually quite shocking, the majority of South Africa's workforce have never even sent an email or used a Microsoft app. So it's should I say, it's definitely, how can we counteract this, or what solutions do we have to change these stats, to improve these stats, should I say?
Yeah, so first of all, those stats are frightening. That majority of South African workforce hasn't even sent an email. That is astounding. And also globally, it's an accepted estimate that over half the world does not have access to the internet. So it's a huge problem. And when we come to the fourth industrial revolution, you've really only got three options. You're either going to be tech savvy and you're going to be employed, or you're going to be unemployed, or you have to work illegally. Those are your only three options really available to you. So it's a huge problem. How do we work on this? And look, thank God we've got amazing people in the world who've been innovative and had huge things. From a global point of view, I'd like to mention Elon Musk. He's amazing. And he has this system called Starlink, where he's sending up satellites into space. And that creates an infrastructure of internet. So instead of using fiber, which is then going to be costly because you have to lay it under seas and you have to lay it over all the areas of land. Here you're going to send up a bunch of satellites into space. They're going to orbit the world, and they're going to enable the entire world, everyone, no matter where they are, without any infrastructure, to be accessed to internet. So you can be sitting anywhere in arid desert where there's no cell phone towers or anything like that, and you can have access to the internet because of the Starlink process. And these are not dreams. Elon Musk has already sent up 700 of these satellites. He plans in the next decade to send up a total of 42,000. And he's busy doing it. So there's these famous movies where the guy's in Afghanistan in a war zone, and he picks up his satellite phone and he calls over to America, so the other side of the world, and obviously there's no cell phone towers in order to facilitate that, but you now, or maybe WhatsApp call, but the clarity of a satellite call from Afghanistan to America will become the norm, because besides for your internet access, you're going to have these satellites that all the phones are connected to. And then you can phone literally anywhere in the world, not just a WhatsApp call over internet, but actually over satellite. And the beauty of this, the next thing is, how do you get phones to the majority of the world?
Or computer access.
Or computers to access. So you're creating the infrastructure around it, that you'll have internet, but what are users going to use? And the next thing we have to rely on is cell phones. Elon Musk is in the process of creating a Tesla phone, which will be a satellite phone, which is made to utilize this infrastructure of satellites. And hopefully it's going to be cheap and available to majority of the world. But if you look anywhere in the world, I know people can't afford laptops in general, but the vast majority of people, I believe, have cell phones. And I come from a bit of a hotel background. I'm managing a hotel as well. And a huge amount of our bookings, 90% of our bookings, come through cell phone usage as opposed to a laptop or a desktop. We've even got a special that if you book on your cell phone, you get 10% off. So there's a huge amount of cell phones out there, and they're very popular, and a lot of people have them. And that's going to you can download a course on how to write an essay and learn through the internet for free and that's the future. Using tech to really connect. So this is on a global point, and we're relying hugely on these big ideas of other companies. I know that Google's also involved in the satellite thing, and there's other companies as well. But these are huge ideas, and they're coming to fruition slowly. But now, so in South Africa, how do we deal with it in South Africa? So the amazing thing about, you mentioned, we're talking about Boston Online School. And the beauty of this is they've got 47 branches around South Africa. And any student who's enrolled with Boston Online School or Boston College can come into one of those 47 branches around the country, and can use the computers there and the internet there, and the availability is there for them. So really all you need is the will and the want to better yourself, and you enroll and the opportunities will make themselves available.
Wow, that's amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that. Would you say that tech is a good career choice for students? I think that's a given at this current time. And is there a high demand for someone who has extensive tech skills? What would you say to maybe those students who are looking into going into tech, taking that up as a career?
Definitely. So absolutely. The future's in tech. I'll give you some ideas, just if you want to get involved in mechanical engineering and electrical engineering, dealing with solar. You mentioned farming earlier. People are looking at putting solar panels over their farming. So we're worried about the plants getting sunburn, and you create this greenhouse, and instead of just having this basic infrastructure which is not producing anything, you're now creating the structure with solar panels, and you have a farm underneath. It's that innovation where you're taking any normal vocation of even farming, and you're adding tech to it, and you're adding value to that. And you can automate the watering system, and you can automate their growth, and you can automate all these things through tech. So the big things, app development is a huge market.
Yes, definitely.
And anyone who's good at coding, I would say you've got $1 million ticket. If you can just be innovative enough and you can find the right ideas, you're good to go.
Definitely.
But also the next biggest thing is finding storage for renewable energy. So it's very nice that you've got wind turbines and you've got solar and you've got hydro electricity being created, but in order to store it, so that's and storage, enough storage to supply a whole city, that's been very difficult. We know about lithium-ion batteries and their lifespan and the limitations of them, and there's a huge demand, and there's a ceiling that we need to break through in order to really bring out renewable energies into the world. And people are just waiting for that innovator who's able to find the solution for this renewable energy. I've had some interesting ideas. I mean, anyone can Google and YouTube these things. But just to give you a basics, when you're talking about technology and education, so you can use the idea of, let's just say you need kinetic energy in order to create energy. So movement. So the very basics, when you have a little robotics kit that you can do at school, is you can have your guinea pig running through the little wheel and is making movement, and you then connect that with transistors and wires, and you put the light bulb on. And that shows a kid that kinetic energy, that movement, creates energy, and you can utilize that energy for a light. The next step is then you explore amazing things about movement. How can I get something to move? So you know about wind. And you can talk about a hydro dam, where the water is, through huge amounts of pressure, pushed through these huge turbines that are on the base of the dam, and that turning of that huge turbine creates that kinetic energy, which then moves. And then the child could just think, we're talking about kinetic energy and movement. The next step is to think innovatively, now how can I do this besides for what's normally happening? And there's a beautiful idea, it hasn't yet come to fruition, but people have gone and they've said, why don't I use gravity to create this kinetic energy? So the idea is I've got a whole bunch of concrete blocks on the ground, and I'll use my solar energy or my wind energy, my renewable energy, to use a crane, to operate a crane, and that crane will lift and build these blocks into a tower. And now I've taken that energy, I've moved it into potential energy. And then when the electricity is out, or I need to, it's not daytime and I can't produce solar energy, what I then can do is the crane can be utilized to then take one block off at a time. Now, instead of using electricity to operate the crane will then use gravity. So the gravity will pull down that concrete block, and that pulley will then, the rope that gets pulled will obviously be connected to a wheel that moves inside the crane, and that momentum makes that wheel move. You've got kinetic energy. As soon as you've got anything moving, you can create energy. So these ideas, this is innovation, this is understanding of physics, this is understanding of technology and how things work. This is really what we want to push into children, and their ability to then solve problems. So you need them to think creatively, use the technology, and technology really enables a person to use their brain to think creatively and innovatively and really solve global issues and problems and really make the world a better place.
Amazing, sure. So there are, I think that the tech industry is a very lucrative industry, and there's so much room for growth and all of that. And I want to know, in your expert opinion, what are the major, I think we already touched on it a little bit, but the major tech challenges we face today, and what type of solutions are we looking for? So you mentioned it was renewable energy storage. Is there anything else that you want to touch base on with regards to that?
Great question. Yeah. So what are other things that we can think about that people can think about their future careers and things to do? So even if you're not so tech savvy, but the idea of using technology and using that to solve problems. So for example, I know that Elon Musk has got his Tesla car. By the way, it's the biggest car manufacturing by market share, by market value. It's got a market value of $270 billion. The next competitor is Toyota at $120 billion. So you can just see the huge difference in that. And you can just see that renewable energy and innovative things, people really want to solve the global warming problem, and people believe in that and would support that. So anyone involved in renewable energy, I think, would go a long way. But the big thing is that just yesterday, Tesla announced that they're making a partnership with Toyota.
Okay.
And that really makes sense because Toyota has this global, first of all, it's got a very good brand name of being a quality car manufacturer. So now he's increased his huge amount of capacity to create and manufacture cars. And then because it's also got this global reach, we know that there's only a few gigafactories in the world. I think there's 3, one in Germany, one in America, and one in China. And so now he's increased his reach straight away just by connecting with Toyota that has dealerships and car manufacturers around the world. So it's these kind of ideas, marrying tech and innovation to solve distribution problems and linear programming and all these things of finding problems, solving problems. But that also comes in, we talked about Cambridge and the PDQ, which really teaches you to critical thinking. And that is a very, very fundamental thing when it comes to education. And the beauty of critical thinking is you can have, because of technology, you can have information at you, and if you have the ability to critically think, you can have all this amazing information from the internet, but if you critically think about it and you see the problems and you find solutions, that's really where the gap is. And that's where innovation comes from. That human ingenuity cannot be replicated.
No.
So that is a unique thing that human beings have. And anyone who's involved in renewable energy and has the ability to critically think, teachers should really push that idea of critically thinking and using technology. That is really the 4th Industrial Revolution.
Amazing. And I think obviously before, in order to have a solution, you need to think, you need to analyze. So that's where critical thinking comes in as well. It comes before technology. So that is one good thing to remember when teaching our children, to prepare them for the 4th Industrial Revolution.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Oh, thank you so much, David. Well, to conclude this discussion, we firmly believe that government, parents, and educators should embrace the use of technology in an online school environment, as it helps improve their social and academic skills, as well as teach them to familiarize themselves with tech and digital devices, which in turn will serve them well in their future workplace. Until next time, goodbye.